Welcome, everybody, to Write Better Together. I'm Jon Meyers. Hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers.
What are we talking about today, Emily Brooks?
Well, we have quite the list and quite the guest, as usual. We're going to be talking to the wonderful Ami McConnell, who has come back to talk with us, this time about writing and contributing to an anthology.
This will be the second weekend in a row where I'm picking the guest brains for my own personal gain. I've never done that before.
But we have a lot to learn, and these people know what they're talking about. Before we talk to Ami, we're going to have, well, are we going to have listener responses?
Yeah, so we are, but I've worked them into the game.
Yeah, so it's going to be different this time. So we're not going to have them before. We're going to have them after.
We're going to be like, here's the listener responses. Oh, wait, you don't get them until the end.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we are going to, Ami's going to give you all a call to action. After her talk. We're going to have a Hey Jon Meyers segment where I teach Jon Meyers something, and then we're going to play a silly game that involves our listener response.
Yeah, so the game is built around our call to action, our previous call to action.
Nice.
All right, so did you get out of your bubble lately? See an alligator or anything?
So, yes, lots of alligators. Actually, lots of baby alligators. I don't know why there were so many babies, but I saw like a couple adults for sure, but they were like small.
Lots of, I didn't know. I thought it was the same alligator when I kept seeing pictures on the
Instagram.
Oh,
no, all those were different.
Oh, wow.
I think we saw 3 adults and 5 babies, not like at the same time, but like throughout the week. Anyway, if anybody's confused, I went on vacation to Florida to visit some friends and get some sunshine, and it was hot. Usually when we go a little bit earlier in the year and it's like still chilly, but this was like legitimately hot. And coming back from 85-degree weather to 30-degree weather and a snow event or winter event or whatever they call it on the radar was the weirdest and also most upsetting thing to me.
Why did I leave?
Like, we were like, can we just stay another week? Like, and I love snow. I was just like in summer mode, you know? I wrote a lot because I had time and I had time, like I wanted to, and I wrote, I think about 5,000 words of my book. But also, like, I write really well when I'm outside in the sun, and like I will sweat and be really hot and not even notice because I'm just happy out being outside. And like, it's actually weird how being back home, I've lost my motivation, which is interesting because we're doing a webinar on
how to stay motivated.
So it's like, okay, if I feel very motivated by all this sunshine, how can I stay motivated now that I'm back? And it's kind of jarring to be back with, incoming snow.
So by the time this episode ends, we will have done the webinar, but the
it.
rebroadcast of it won't have popped up yet.
Right.
And so watch it because I have answers for this.
That's
and I'm
great.
sure Emily will have answers for this by then as well.
It definitely made me think, yeah. Because, there's so many roadblocks that get in the way of motivation, and it's different all the time. And so you have to navigate it differently every time. But yeah, that's how I got out of my bubble, did a lot of writing, had a lot of sunshine.
And you survived the alligators.
Yes, I survived the alligators. How about you?
I survived the alligators as well. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
You did. You know what? Everybody survived alligators this week. Congratulations.
If they're watching. Someone in a kayak they survived getting swallowed by a whale as well this week. Did you know that?
Well, I've seen that video, but it was like a really old video.
No, someone this week.
It happened again this week?
Yeah, so it proves that you can get swallowed by a whale all the time.
Well, you can't be swallowed by a whale. You can be in the mouth of a whale, but they can't technically swallow you. Is that today's fact?
I have a screenplay where the
Oh, nice.
protagonist actually gets swallowed. Well, it's a pilot for and he's inside there, man, and there's stomach acid in there. Ew.
Oh, gee. I'm curious
All right.
how he got in there.
He crawled in there through the eyeball. Don't you know how to get into
Oh,
a whale's
gosh.
stomach in a
Wow.
fictional story? Uh, so, I got out of my bubble. No alligators were involved. However, I have to talk about everything in veiled terms, but it
Oh,
has nothing to do with my undisclosed location. By the way, we had a snow-nado while you were gone. For
what?
real. But many people have died in the flooding, which is cresting right now. The rain stopped on Saturday, but the river is cresting now, like as we speak. Why does
That's
it take
weird.
why does it take 2 days? I don't know. I don't understand how water works. Anyway, all right. So I got out of my bubble. I went to it wasn't a webinar, it was a lecture by one of the nominees for one of this year's adapted screenplays. And I don't want to say who it was. I'm not even going to say what gender this person was. I'm not going to say which one it was. I admire the book. I read the screenplay. I admire the screenplay. But this person, I'm going to give you a quote from the actual webinar. When I read you this quote, you'll know why I'm not going to name this person. So the moderator asked, "What was your writing process and how did the adaptation come about?" That's a question that I imagine you're nominated for an Academy Award that you would have a cogent answer to for your audience, correct? Exact. This is an exact quote. "We embraced archival to give audience consciousness of this space. We needed audience to have spectacle experience." And then there was about 5 more minutes of similar sentences.
I don't even know what that sentence means.
Exactly. In a room full of screenwriters and, in this person's defense, academics, it just underscored it's a good story. It's a strong story. Um, it underscored the divide between I can't say this person isn't a storyteller because this person has I don't have an Oscar nominated adaptation of a script. The bones of the story were strong because the script I read the script. The script is strong. I guess audience like you can the takeaway I can translate that to you need to be aware of the audience.
Yeah, I think that's what I got out of it was just like we really thought about the audience and their experience of it as a film,
I
which
googled
that's great.
spectacle. I googled spectacle, and there's a couple content or a couple festivals called spectacle, but it's not a word.
Interesting.
Screenwriter person. um, I don't want the screenwriters that are watching or the storytellers that are writing or that are watching when you go on people's podcasts or you give a lecture in front of 300 people in an auditorium at a university. You need to connect with the audience who came. You have to be aware of the audience. Your answer involved the audience,
Right.
and
Yeah.
your answer spoke over the head of the audience. I'm an academic. I'm a screenwriter. Emily's an academic. Emily's a storyteller. We have no idea what those two sentences meant.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so there's just this divide. Then someone that we both know pointed out that this script is interesting in terms of point of view. Okay. Now I've read the script. We just had an episode with Renee about point of view of characters, even though it's in book, right?
Hmm.
Renee was talking about in novels. Screenplays, other than I always pronounce Rashomon wrong. But did I say it right? When you look at the story
I
from different
usually say
characters' angles.
Rashomon, but I think you
Rashomon.
could be right. I'm not positive.
Okay. Now that you do see different points of view, but the script is 99, unless you're like an avant-garde rebel, 99% of the time the script is written from the point of view of the audience. That's what
Mhm.
you're telling the story. It's motion pictures. You're writing on the piece of paper what you want the audience to see. It's the blueprint for the film. I've read this script, and that's exactly what it is. And so now we have another academic making an observation in front of a room of 300 people that didn't help those 300 people, because screenplays are written from the point of view of the audience. Now, I know what this academic was saying, because there are different points of view in the script, in the film, but it wasn't written from different points of view. It was written just like if you were to write something in first person or whatever. It's written in audience person. It's written in what you want to see on the screen. And so I don't know what to tell you. Let the buyer beware. And I think those are two big takeaways that people need to be aware of. When, like, you couldn't find someone at the top of their game higher than that, right? You've been nominated for an Academy Award this year. Sometimes those people need a translator, though. That's all I have to say about it.
Well, and there's a difference between people who are really good writers and know their stuff versus people who are really good writers and know how to teach. Like, it's a skill to know how to teach and how to speak. And I mean, it's something that I'm such a beginner at, and it is tough. And so it's a lot of writers aren't taught to teach what they do. They're just, they're just good at it. That makes them good models. Like, it's a good model to probably read his or her script. Yeah, I think that, that's still a great way to learn from them.
Correct. And the script is well written, and the book that's based on is well written, and it's on an important issue, as most Oscar-worthy films are. So
great.
I'm not denigrating the story or the storyteller at all.
Yeah.
I'm denigrating the public persona or connection with an audience.
Yeah. Interesting. Speaking of connecting with an audience.
Yes. Here's someone that really knows how to connect with an audience.
We should introduce Ami McConnell. Ami McConnell is a writer, editor, and publishing consultant based in Nashville, Tennessee. She formerly served as editor-in-chief and VP of Howard Books / Simon & Schuster. Before that, she acquired and edited for HarperCollins, where she helped launch a successful fiction imprint. Editing credits include numerous New York Times bestsellers and award-winning titles. Today, McConnell works with celebrities and artists of all stripe to create best-selling books. She founded and directs WriterFest Nashville, a gathering for writers of book, song, and film, and she lives with her family in Franklin, Tennessee. And if you haven't seen our previous episode, I can't tell you the number, but we did talk with Ami in a previous episode, so you should go check that one out too.
We did. She's amazing.
So here's our conversation with Ami McConnell.
And we're back. Hey, everybody. I'm still Jon Meyers from Write Better Together. It's still Emily Brooks. Normally, I'm like, hey, who's this person? But I know who this person is. But why don't you tell the viewers, the listeners, who this person is?
It's Ami McConnell.
Oh,
hi, guys.
Welcome back.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
She's very real, I heard.
And I'm so glad to see that your plant is still living.
Oh.
I walked in this afternoon and there was a big fiddle fig leaf on the floor, and I was like, did I forget to water?
Oh no. I've killed so many houseplants, so that's why I'm like, that's good. That's great. It's been there.
She's good. She's thriving.
Yeah,
there are so many metaphors for fig plants. I don't know if you're familiar with the fig plant. But
oh yeah.
Very meaningful. And then I have a money tree. Right. So my money tree is thriving up in here in my corner of my room. Like, I have a feng shui thing going on.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, fortunately, that's why we brought you on to talk about the metaphors of the fig. I don't know anything about this. Tell me your top 3 metaphors for the fig plant leaf tree.
Are you a fan of Hamilton? Are you a fan of Hamilton? So
yes.
there's this part in Hamilton where George Washington talks about how he refers to Judeo-Christian scripture, and he says it's written that everyone should sit under his own vine and fig tree, right?
Oh.
So that's a fun little Hamilton reference.
Wow.
And then I was just reading a book wherein the woman was eating figs, and it was like a very sexual metaphor. So we won't go down that road.
Right.
But yeah, there are a number of. It's a rich.
I know it shows up in the Bible like a lot, like Jesus curses a fig tree.
Right. He says, Nathaniel, he says to Nathaniel, I saw you under the fig tree.
Yes. Yeah. There's
Which
that
is
one too.
like the fig trees in that time was where rabbinical scholars would sit around and debate like the meaning of life, etc.
Oh,
And so
wow.
that reference was meaning like, I know you're a thinker. I know you're somebody who ponders and thinks deeply. So yeah, there's a lot.
I've never heard that before. Wow. I
Me
always
either. I
wondered what
love that.
meant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also figs are just delicious. So.
And there's the fig Newton. I mean,
Oh yeah.
But wait, you're under a fig tree, so you're our font of wisdom.
Well, I mean,
right now.
Contemplating wisdom. I don't know that I have any, but I'm
contemplating. Oh, okay. Wow. We've learned so much already.
I know.
I can pack it in, buddy. I can pack it in. Thanks for having me on the Write Better Together podcast. I love writing with people. It's my favorite thing.
We love having you on.
Like is perfect segue to what we want to talk about, which is writing with other people in an anthology. Can you tell us about Faithful Daughter and how that kind of started and how you got involved and
could I tell you about Faithful Daughter? Yes, I would be very happy to tell you about Faithful Daughter. So several years ago, I worked together with an imprint of Hallmark Publishers to create a book called Faithful Daughter that is really an exploration of what it means to be a daughter. And so it was really me. It was a result of me pondering the fact that I have 4 daughters and I am a daughter myself, but have no sisters. And I was thinking about how different my daughter's situation is growing up with siblings who are also daughters. They often will say, I'm the favorite daughter. And I'm like, I am the favorite daughter because I am the only daughter to my parents. But my situation as a daughter is very unique to me. And I figured, every woman is a daughter, but we all have very unique sensibilities regarding what it means to be a daughter to our particular mother. Some of those narratives are really heart-wrenching. My sister-in-law wrote an essay for this book that is that talks about growing up with somebody who is difficult. My personal narrative really reflects on how interacting with my daughter illustrates some things that are different about my daughterhood compared to her daughterhood, and not good or bad, just different. And I was just interested in what other writers' experiences of daughterhood were, not of being a mother, but of being a daughter. And the people that I wanted to talk to about that were all writers. So I got together with 30 of my author friends, and we each wrote an essay about our daughterhood. And it ended up being this beautiful little book right here that has been, I know women tell me a lot that they give it to their women friends so that they can encourage them that everybody's journey is different.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And such a specific topic that, I feel like a lot of books share about being a mother, but not as much about being a daughter. And I knew you had several kids, but I didn't know they were all girls.
Well, I actually have 7 kids. So
wow. So they're not all okay.
And 2 bonus sons. When I married my husband Fleet, he'd already raised his 2 boys. So they're my bonus sons. And then I have a son. And then I have 4 daughters. So we have 2 live at home now. So
wow. Well, I was gonna say I have 3 sisters, and so definitely have the just a joking rivalry of who's the favorite, who makes our parents' favorite pie, things like that.
Yes. Everybody's experience of being a daughter, I'm sure son too, is different, but women have an extraordinary relationship with their mothers. I mean, I always say a mother for a woman is usually our North Star, but that isn't necessarily we navigate toward her. We may navigate away from her or something in between, but for every daughter, there is a mother who in some form or fashion has been her signpost to navigate her life.
Yeah. And my parents also say a lot that all of us had different parents too.
Yes.
Because they were growing and they were changing. Right. And so each of us had a different experience, even though we were only 2 to 3 years apart each, still a very different, and whether you have older siblings, that changes things, or younger, it's just a unique experience.
And when we were working together, the other authors and I on this, it was such an intimate experience because I was, of course, the editor. And so they would write the essay and send it to me, and then we would interact around it. And it was just such tender material and then, of course, as their editor, I needed to interact with it. I didn't interact with it in a way that was ruthless and by any stretch, but I was definitely, I, would poke and prod and say, like, is this honest here, or are you fully sharing this full story? So we had a very, it was more intimate than usual, perhaps, for that reason. And it really bound us together in some special ways. So yeah, I'm really proud of the whole effort and the women who were vulnerable on the page. I feel like the editor, Jenny at Dayspring, which is an imprint of Hallmark, she did a great job, I think, of packaging the book and also making sure that the tone of the book stayed, the narrative arc was there. That's always something that you want to hold lightly, but also make sure there is an arc and that it ends well, right? So yeah, so I'm really proud of how it turned out. And I hear a lot of people say that it's helped them through tough seasons when they felt like they were over fixated perhaps on that relationship that is so hard to understand if you're outside of that experience, which all of us are outside of it in some way. Through different life changes, they felt like it was a companion on a journey, which is the ultimate goal for me. So yeah,
I love that.
So let me ask you this: the arc, did it appear? How many writings are in there?
I think there's 31.
Okay, did it appear through the 31, or were they assigned certain points in the arc?
That's a great question. Yes, we did find some places where we needed some levity, and so we specifically tapped someone for one that was a little lighter, and we chose one that was sort of the penultimate one for the ending, and to make sure it ended in a certain way, and we rounded it out as we went. But there were certainly, how it is with any work of art, you kind of morph it as you go, and we were definitely able to do that by way of bringing in the right voices to complement the existing structure.
The anthology that it didn't occur to me, because I haven't read this, it didn't occur to me that, like, all good nonfiction, there's a narrative, right? All good memoir, there's a narrative, and that there would be an arc, because the two anthologies I picked up, which I won't name, one was subject broken into themes. The other one was held together through theme, and then the theme was like, I don't want to say the subjects because it might give away who it is, but the theme was broken into subjects. Neither one of those they were more encyclopedic, and it would make more sense for it to have a narrative.
Well, I'm not saying this is a superior approach. I'm just saying, right? Like, I hope people.
But for that intimacy between the reader and 31 different voices, I think that's an important distinction.
Worked for us. I mean, I certainly, if there is an anthology that is, say, held together by way of being the best, for instance, like I'm always a fan of the best short stories of, the American fiction best 100 stories, those kinds of things. Then you, as a reader, like somebody somebody chose these to be top for some reason, and I'm going to read them in the order that they're presented, which may be alphabetical, and that's fine, Mm-hmm. But in this case, I wanted it to have a little bit more harmony across the stories. So
that makes a lot of sense for that material. But I can see how it depends. It really depends on the topic in so many ways.
That's what I would vote. That would be what I would vote. You really have to think about the end consumer too, like what's going to consumer. My publishing background is showing the consumer, but the ultimate reader, like what are her needs and what is she going to, what's going to suit her best? So, and try to serve that need. Or him, Jon, obviously.
I didn't feel excluded. Don't worry. Did the 31 voices at the time when they were creating, did they have a target reader, or did that happen as the project developed? Like, what did they have 31 different target readers, or
the authors of the essays didn't know if they would make it into the collection or not? That was because I was the editor. So I asked people to write essays, and not everybody got to be included, depending on
Gotcha.
whether they made the cut or not. So,
and so that when the pieces were created, the creative didn't know who the end reader. Well, I mean, they had an idea of the topic or the themes, but did they have the narrative in their mind?
for me, so each one is crafted as it should be able to be. It should stand alone. So I actually just told each of them, like, write your story for me, because I'm trying to understand my daughterhood. Will you tell me about your daughterhood? What does that look like for you?
I like
Whatever
that.
you like. And so they don't, they're not Dear Amy, but they were thinking of me as the end reader. And then when I read them, I put them in the collections order that they're in now.
So were these like submissions, or you actually solicited certain people to write?
I solicited certain people.
Okay.
So this for me was like, I'm in a unique position where I know a lot of writers.
Right.
So I told people that I care about, I'm doing this fun thing. Would you like to be invited to this literary party that I'm throwing, this literary cocktail party that I'm throwing, if you will? We're going to talk about this thing. Would you like to talk about it with us? And so friends thought, this is something that I would do, whether it makes it into the collection or not. I'm going to write this because I want to think about it with Amy. And then if it gets picked up, then hooray, So yeah, that's how it worked.
And we talked about that the last time you were on. That's your superpower, man, is connecting people to things and to projects and with other people.
And throwing parties.
And throwing parties. So you kind of know, like, instinctively, you kind of knew which people to invite to start, as opposed to randomly, because that's what you do.
Yeah, that's true. I think you're right, John.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique position to be in, and it's I recognize that it's pretty special, and I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky, and it worked out well. Yeah, I do that a lot, John. I like to bring together writers together with other writers, and I like to connect writers with the people who will make their craft better. It's just the joy of my life. I love writers so much.
And here's the other cool thing is that no one else could have done this book, right? Because you're the glue, you're the conduit, you're the connection maker. And so someone else could have done a similar book, but it wouldn't have been the book that the reader has in their hand, and it wouldn't have connected the way that it does. I'm getting all goosebumpy again. That's just amazing.
Art is so beautiful that way, right? Like, if we're the right person for our project, we can't not do it, right? But if we're not the right person, we shouldn't do it. I mean, I've heard so many stories of, I know Ann Patchett famously tells the story about how Elizabeth Gilbert had the same idea that she did, but Elizabeth Gilbert followed through on it. And Ann Patchett says, just wasn't for me. I guess it wasn't for me because she picked it up and ran with it and I didn't. And I mean, not to get like too mystical about it, but I think that's the way it is with art. You just you welcome in the spirit. If that's for you, you welcome it in and you bring it to fruition. And other people would go, oh, that's a cool idea. I'm going to go play dominoes. It's just not for them. But it is, if it is for you and you run with it, then it's a joy.
Wow.
That's good. And also earlier you kind of answered one of the questions I had, which is, if you're to create or edit or compile a kind of anthology, like how do you decide who to have, and then how do you gracefully turn down some of the pieces because it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit what you were trying to do. And so it's interesting that you solicited all of those, but with the very clear expectation, not everybody is going to be able to make it in.
And it was kind of sad. I mean, it was definitely sad when some of them didn't make it. I remember one of them had to pull out of the submissions because what she wrote ended up getting picked up by someone else. Two had to get picked up because it got picked up by somebody else. For great reasons. And they hadn't, one of them had started the essay in another form and morphed it for me, and then went back to the original source and said, actually, I finished this. Would you like to pick it up? And it got picked up by a bigger place than me. And then the other one had actually written it fully fleshed out, and it was going into a literary magazine, and she pulled it for me. And then her major publisher picked it up for a collection, like her own collection that she was putting out elsewhere. So, that's right. Those pieces were supposed to be written. They just weren't supposed to go into my book. I'm happy about that. There were also some that didn't make it into this collection, but I know those people needed to write them. I feel really good about the fact that they wrote them. So yeah, I mean, nothing with us, like the economy of art is so beautiful. Like there can be stuff all over the cutting room floor and you're like, man, I wrote 40,000 words I'm not using. What? But nothing is wasted in art. Like it's all for something later. You always figure out, oh, that's why I needed to figure out how to transcribe 40 interviews. Like, oh, that's why I needed to, if you stay an artist, if you continue to create, you'll always figure out nothing was wasted. So that's my point of view.
I love that.
If you think about it, stay with me now when I'm going to take you on this little journey here. If you look at each one of our episodes as an essay in this anthology, that the Write Better Together, Jon Meyers, Emily vibe is what the vibe that Amy McConnell has to bring all those people in. We reject guests a lot. No, I don't say a lot, but often. and we seek out the guests that we know that will vibe with us, and as we get more popular, we reject more because we're getting publicists saying, hey, this guy wants to talk about his Western or whatever. And that's not our vibe. And already in the however many minutes we've been talking to Amy, we didn't know what words were going to come out of her mouth, but she's already brought up Liz Gilbert. She's already brought up mother. Well, the whole thing was mother-daughter relationship. And so Lucy needs to watch this episode, right? Because from what she's talked about, and this episode will help her, just like what Amy just said, that some people wrote these things that didn't wind up in the book, but it helped them to write them. And I'm getting all goosebumpy again. But it's similar. So when you ask, like, how do you know? You just kind of know. Like, you've brought in great guests onto the show, and I've brought on great guests onto the show, and we just kind of know who's going to work.
It also, I mean, it's fair to bring up. I mean, if you're in this discourse, there are some objective goals that you need to meet, depending on what your project is, right? Like if I were doing an anthology of romance stories, right, for a popular audience, then I would want to bring in some people who already have an existing audience, right? Like a strong following, a strong platform, and then some debut voices. I would want to round it out with different kinds of romance stories, right? Like it just, you have to figure out what your objective is, and then work toward that objective. For me, I really wanted personally for it to reflect like a gathering at my home, right? So I wanted it to feel like coming to my home and spending time with me and talking about mother, like being a daughter with me in my home. So I used the analogy of a literary cocktail party. Who would come? Like, who would I invite? And when, like when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, well, we need somebody who's not quite so serious, but we need somebody who can really go serious. And I populated the guest list with those people. Similarly, if you were coming up with like a Write Better Together anthology of people who are talking about how to be successful in writing, you would want to figure out like, what is that guest list going to look like? How can we round it out, not make it imbalanced towards academia, right? For instance, or not too balanced towards horror, or not too, right? So you'd want to round it out in some form or fashion. So thinking about the end in mind, obviously, is a wise choice when you figure out who to invite and who to not invite.
That's so perfect.
Thanks. What else you got? Come on now.
My mind is racing.
You want me to ask y'all some questions?
Sure.
So
My
Emily,
mind's racing.
Emily Brooks,
Sure.
do
Pick our brains.
you guys edit each other? And if so, what's your methodology?
So, yes.
Go ahead.
When we
You can answer
wrote
first.
Write Anyway, we did edit each other. And I'm trying to think methodology. We would send each other our chapters, and usually on my end, at least when I was looking at his work, was doing things like asking questions of like, hey, I think maybe this could be more clear, or you might think of other examples, Jon Meyers, of things I said. Because we went through a couple rounds. Like, I feel like we did get into copy editing actually pretty quickly because we knew what we had was like, if we knew that this part was going to stay, then it would stay and we'd copy edit it. But there is also definitely like just a few little developmental things that I would ask on my end.
So did you line edit using track changes and margin notes in Word?
We used track. That's what we did, right? We used track changes and margin notes. So I think we used Google Drive.
And I would say 80% of Emily's editing on mine was, I don't, tell me, I like, what is it? I don't know what you're saying here, right? And you didn't explain this well. She just said it much more politely. And then when I would make the explanation, 80% of those explanations wound up in the book, because if she didn't understand, and she knows me very well, and first of all, I respect and listen to Emily 100%. And so if I didn't respect what she was saying, then I'd be like, oh, that's your problem, right? But I didn't do that. And so that explanation, it occurred to me on like the third one. I'm like, well, this is what I'm telling her is what I need to tell the reader. And so then I would readdress it, and then I would just say, okay, I reworked this part. Look at it now. And then sometimes she'd say, I still don't get it. And then sometimes she'd be, oh, now I get it. Thanks. And then on hers, I will guarantee you it was much less, but both 2 or 3 times I would say more of this.
Oh,
more,
yeah, that's true.
More of this. And
expound.
Because I got goosebumps on so we each did 15 chapters. If I got goosebumps on 13 of them, I wanted more just goosebumps on 3 of them or whatever. And so that, yeah. So
and we did all of that in the margin notes. And so like what he's talking about when we were going back and forth, all of that would just be like comments where I'd be like, what does this mean? And he would explain it. And then I'd be like he said, it's either I would get it or I wouldn't get it. And then he'd have to keep explaining. And then eventually he'd write something and I'd see the changes and be like, this makes a lot more sense. Awesome.
There were a couple things I didn't change. And I don't remember how that, I don't remember why I wasn't resistant to the change, obviously, because I changed 80% of them. But there were a couple that I didn't, and I don't remember how those, like, what did I say when I didn't change them?
I don't remember. It may be that you changed like just a word or two. Like you found a way to make everything come together in a more simple way than like just rewriting it. Okay. If that makes sense. That's kind of what I remember. And then with the one that I remember the most is that I had briefly mentioned women's cycles.
Yeah, chapter 27.
How it impacts your writing life. And he was like, more. And so I ended up writing like a whole other page on women's cycles.
Because that's half the audience and no one ever talks about it.
I wouldn't have done it if he hadn't told me to. So
Write Better Together 2 is all about menstruation, the entire book. But it's important to talk about things that other people don't talk about in a writing book.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you started to ask something else, Emma, or Amy, and then I interrupted.
Oh, no, I was just thinking about how Google Docs lets you know when anything changed in the Google, like it gives you alerts, and that drives me bananas when I'm
Mhm.
sharing a document with someone. So I love to just send red line Word documents back and forth for that reason. But then you can sometimes forget which version you're on. So that's a downside of it. But
Yeah, that's true. It is kind of messy. I wish there was a bit of a cleaner way to do it. But yeah.
it just will come up if you're doing a compilation. It will come up whether you're
Mhm.
sharing it
Yeah.
via Google Drive or whether you're sharing or Google Docs or whether you're sharing it via. For me, I like to have one document for me as the editorial at the managing editor of a compilation. I like to have one file that's my file, and then I have a document that I go back and forth with the author, and then I'm the boss of what goes into the ultimate manuscript. But you have to figure out what works for you as the editor, what's the best style for you, and you also want to make sure that your artist knows that they have it's not going to go to print without their thumbs up, right?
Mm.
They need to feel like they have some level of ownership and control over that ultimate publication. So there needs to be some point in the editorial structure that is a sign off. Like, this is it. We're not making any more changes. This is what we're putting in the book, the compiled book. That's an important trust factor.
What does that look like in terms of whose book is it?
For me, I wanted to make sure it was like that they assigned the rights to me, but that the copyright was theirs. So there was a document between us that signified that they were giving me permission to use it in the book in perpetuity, but that it was their copyright for the original story.
And would that be the same if there were 5 people instead of 31 people?
That's my position, that would be the case. I mean, certainly there are other instances where the copyright holder is the ultimate publication, but I don't know if that's a consideration for each individual publication, I would think. I don't know. I'm not an intellectual property lawyer, but I would want to always give credit to whomever created the work. There are such things as you know, right for hires, where a ghostwriter gives up their right to own the property, and I've done that many, many times. I'm happy to do it. Just depends on the project.
So if I pull it up on Amazon right now, it says Anthology edited by you.
Yeah, it says Ami McConnell and friends. And so I think all the authors are listed on. I know all the authors are listed in the metadata, so you could find all the authors there as well.
And if they're already published author, it's listed on their author page as well through them. One of our guests, I don't even remember who it was.
I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can have all of them. I think Amazon only takes a certain number of authors, because
Gotcha.
I have been that one of those authors that are multiple, and so that it pulls up on the back end as being assigned to me. And you can't have 30. That's too many. But they're in the metadata still, so you could search by them and find it.
Gotcha.
Someone that we had on, I think we've had 2 on now who've contributed to Chicken Soup on the Soul for the Soul. And when you click on her author bio, and I apologize, viewer, that you're the author and I don't remember which one you were, that it shows which ones she was in, because she wasn't in all 100 of them, obviously.
Chicken Soup for the Soul is its own planet. So I can't speak for Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's an enormous entity.
Right, and so if she was in 3 of them, it listed the 3 she was in. It didn't list the whole series, obviously, the giant universe.
What is I'm going to I have the WriterFest podcast, so I like to ask questions too. I'm wondering what brings the two of you joy right now, aside from compilations. What's bringing you joy?
What?
Emily?
I didn't know I was going to be grilled about joy.
Oh man. So I actually don't even know if you know this, but at WriterFest I was pregnant. I am still pregnant. and but it's bringing me a lot of joy to feel this baby's kicks.
Oh,
Um
Emily, best
and
answer ever.
yeah. And it's a son, not a daughter, but
I love that.
yeah.
Oh, I love babies. Duh.
Yes.
I love a baby. I'm so happy for you.
Oh,
That's
thank
really,
you.
really cool. You still get to feel that once they're outside, like, because you can still hold them really
Yes.
close and kind of feel their like kicks. And it's like, oh, this started when you were this tiny and now you're this big. And oh, when they fall asleep on your chest, it's like the best thing ever. Oh, that's really cool. I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very excited. I mean, there's been a lot of fear involved as well, and I'm trying to just, just enjoy it. We're in the third trimester. I'm like, we don't have that much longer to go. So I'm just going to try to enjoy it as much as I can this phase.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. That's cool. You know what fear does is like I think it creates like this fear as a chemical everything is chemical, right? So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
feeling that fear, and what it really does is it's like a way for your body to kind of figure out like, do I run or do I pause? Like, do I play dead or what do I do? And really, that reaction is just to be here, like be in this moment, and that's all you can do is
It's
like
all
be
you
in
can
this
do.
moment, and that's like cool. It's really cool to be in this moment, like
Yeah.
not in the moment before or not in the moment after, but like this moment is so special. Like you said, just to feel those kicks is like such a gift.
Yeah. And it
Really.
is challenging to be in the moment. I'm such a forward thinker. I'm always thinking about what's next. But this whole experience has definitely been a challenge to just be in the moment and,
Oh,
don't worry
so
too much
cool.
about where things are going or
Yeah,
where we'll be, but just
you
enjoy.
got this. You
Yeah.
got this.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, Jon, I'm sorry for you. How you
I
top that,
I
mister?
can't top that. I'm not pregnant. I can't top that. I got some rosemary potato chips at Aldi yesterday. They were fantastic. They brought me much joy.
Hey, look.
He was so excited about them that he sent me a picture.
Rosemary? Rosemary?
Yeah, they're very good.
Cool.
Um,
The little things.
so you're actually involved in what brings me joy now. Forget the babies part now. And that, so I always work. I never sleep, right? And I'm productive, but I'm slow. And however, since Kirsten Modulin spoke into my soul
At WriterFest.
at WriterFest, I've been like productive on steroids because she's just finished book 50, man, and she's a feature guest. She's going to be on in a couple of weeks,
Oh,
and
amazing.
and I only have one book. I got to get to 9 first of all. Another future guest, Stephanie Jones, and then someone else we had on. When they got to 9, that's when they became profitable. They thought, and so my target's to get to 9 in 3 years.
Excellent.
One down, 8 8 to go.
Yeah.
I think we'll have 3 this year. Maybe. So then that'll be 4, right? Then I got 2 years to do 5. In 2026 I'm writing memoir and I'm taking it on the road. It's going to be a performative memoir where I can perform specific chapters to an audience. And then while I'm doing that in the hotel, while I'm on tour, I can write the next book in the hotel. And so so I got to write a bunch this year because next year I think I'm only going to write like 1.5 books.
What an interesting vision. I love that.
Jon Meyers is having lots of book babies, is what's happening.
Yeah, apparently. And because storytellers need to tell stories. Will Rogers did that, right? He'd go talk to an audience of 100 people, and I can fill a room of 300 because Emily saw me do it. Almost 300 people, and so I ought to be able to find 10 cities where I can fill a 100-room theater. and
You
have
go,
a book
John.
signing afterwards.
You go,
Like,
Jon Meyers.
all right, so I don't know.
I'm into it. I like it.
Thanks to Kirsten Modulin, that's why she lit a fire under me.
I tell you what, that was really strong. That was a really strong conversation she had with Margaret Riley King at WriterFest, and just a few months ago. Yeah, I'm glad that you got a lot out of that. I did too. I was in there. We were all looking at each other, going, "Gee, she's amazing."
And it was so smooth and natural. Like, this is my life, right? This is normal to crank out 50 books in 8 years. And then I've started looking at, like, on her social media, and we've chatted a little bit back and forth on Insta, and her like top followers and stuff are similar, right? They're people that have 26 books in the last 8 years or 19 books in the last 8 years. And so, like, it's like this little cohort of super productive people, super productive storytellers.
It's like somebody's at my house. Dog's barking. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Usually my doves are cooing in the background.
Yeah, I didn't hear the doves today.
Yeah, they're in a different room this time because they've been noisy.
All right, so that's what brings me joy, is just working even more than I already worked before.
What's your favorite word right now, Jon Meyers?
My favorite word of all time? Nevertheless.
Right now. I keep
Nevertheless. Yes. Because bad thing, nevertheless, good thing. And then also suddenly, like in the Bible, bad thing, suddenly, good thing. So that's my second favorite word.
Wow, he answered that so quickly. Like, I don't have a favorite word. Yeah, you had an answer for that.
I know. It always is. All right. And so okay, Amy and Emily, what's your favorite word of the moment?
I have not thought about that at all.
Hunter, when Hunter was on, she actually mentioned that.
Did she?
My favorite word, yeah.
Oh, she mentioned the word.
Yep. All right. You stumped Emily. What's your answer, Amy McConnell?
Right now I'm kind of into magical.
Oh.
So I think I had like a kind of a cognitive bias against the word magical for a lot of years, for various and sundry reasons. But lately I've been thinking about it in a very positive. I actually read a book that changed my thinking around it. The Jennifer Moorman's book, The Vanishing Life of Josephine. And it involves some magic, and I was like, oh, this is my kind of magic. I like this word. It just opens up possibilities in a new way. And I had to kind of reframe the word for myself. And now when I see it, it kind of makes me grin as opposed to go, So yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with that word right now.
Interesting.
So as a Christian, I had the same, I would bump up against that word until Liz Gilbert's Big Magic. And then that kind of freed me to be okay with that word. I wouldn't even eat Lucky Charms because they were magically delicious. It was that bad. And so I just saw that book that you said, the Josephine. I just saw that book somewhere.
It made the USA Today bestseller list.
Wow.
I was at the launch party for that book at Parnassus, and got a signed copy that night and read it thereafter. And I really liked it a lot. It was bigger than I thought it was going to be. I was very pleased to fall into that rabbit hole. Yeah.
Okay, I have one because I realized. So I'm working on a book on. It doesn't have a title necessarily, but it's on like nourishment for Christians, like holistic nourishment. And one of the words, well, first of all, the word nourish is a big word, obviously, but also the other word that I've been using a lot is the word well and wellness, and what that actually means and how it's distinct from happiness. And really digging deep into like what it means to be well. So that's the word that like probably is the number one word in the book right now. So
I don't know if you did this on purpose, but you can have. You didn't know, but this book, everybody in this book who was an author, I gave them a silver bracelet that says, "All will be well."
oh,
Oh,
I love that.
nice.
So when I see my friends who are wearing their little "All will be well" bracelet, I'm like, oh,
That's
our dog book.
great. Oh,
But well is
yeah.
it means something different than happy.
Mhm.
It means it worked out, or it's working out, right? It's so cool. So cool. Well done, Emily.
Yeah.
Well done, Emily Brooks.
And we didn't get to
Asked and answered, right?
we didn't get to throw back the joy question to you. So I think we should close with what is bringing you joy right now.
I think the thing that makes me kind of giggle without like just that like kind of giggle right now, which is I think would be joy, is when I notice my cat using his paws like hands. So like when he reaches out and his paw does like this, I'm always like, that's so amazing. You think of their paws as being like this, but then sometimes he'll be like,
Yes.
and I just like he'll reach out and touch my husband's head, or he'll like we call it making biscuits.
Oh yes.
With the blanket, the throw blanket, and I'm like, oh, just love a cat. They're so cool.
Does he ever do this?
Oh yeah, we were just
With
talking.
his own hands?
We were just talking about baby signing.
But it hasn't happened on the show yet. This actually happens after.
Oh, we're gonna have to cut that now, Jon Meyers.
Nope, we can't now.
I'm big into baby signs. I know. I taught all my children baby signs.
Oh, well, see, I'm glad I brought it up. So
More. That's more.
guess what's going to happen on Hey Jon Meyers in about 10 minutes, y'all, a lot of people watching this.
Well, man.
So tell us about, wait, I got to ask my question. Were babies able to sign to other babies or only to their parents? Did you come across another baby that signed to another baby?
I don't know. Because
oh man,
I wasn't like looking over their shoulder as they were hanging out with other people.
But it must have been because I talked about how like I had a hard time finding like definitive non-contradictory information about it, but so many people like personally have seen so many benefits from it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a whole nother podcast.
Oh no, I love it.
The major cause of frustration in all of us is inability to communicate.
Right.
So if you have a way to express your needs and make them known, it removes so much crying and so much whining. So if they can say, more please, please, they don't go,
yeah,
those sounds. So I would just look at them and be like, the reasons my kid is crying, exactly. Because they don't know how to say, like, I'm help.
Yeah.
Help. Stuck or whatever, or just cookie. What is it? Like that cookie? So, or hungry, or I don't feel well, just all the different.
I love it so much. It's
rosemary potato chip needs to be the baby's first word. Rosemary potato chip. All right, what's your call to action, Amy McConnell?
Oh, yeah. So I know like often call to action is like, go to my website and sign up for something. But my call to action is we're talking about collaboration. So I would say that if anybody is thinking about collaborating, then they need to try collaborating on something that is non-book related. So try collaborating on like play bananagrams with a friend, or try writing a poem with a friend, or like just try doing something that is not to do with creating your final book product, but create something else. Draw a picture with a friend, or but do something creative with a friend or a stranger.
I love
Perfect.
that. That's so fun. If our listeners do that, you all can tell us about it by responding in the show notes at writebettertogether.com/podcast. Or you can respond on social media when we share this episode. Or on
Slide
YouTube.
up on our DMs, the WriterFest DMs, the Amy McConnell DMs, and let us know what you're collaborating on. That'll be fun too.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me on, you guys.
Thank
you.
you.
Always good to see you.
It's always fun talking with you, Amy.
Wonderful. Told you she was real. That was great, man.
It was great.
Here's my takeaway. Amy is so real, right?
Yeah.
She's very real.
She's fun. She's always fun to talk to.
You know what else is real? Crying babies. Look at this poor baby right here. Oh my goodness, that poor baby. You know why he's crying? Because
Why
he threw
is
his
the baby?
dinner on the floor and now he wants to eat it.
Oh gosh.
That baby.
I've been around a lot of toddlers lately, and one of them likes to drop her food on the floor and then step in it and squish it around on the floor.
Without crying.
Without crying, but lots of giggling.
Made me giggle.
Hey, Jon Meyers.
Yes.
Speaking of crying babies,
Yes.
what is one way parents might be able to mitigate babies? I don't know how to ask this question.
I can't believe it's related to crying babies.
I was going to say mitigate baby crying, but I feel like there's like a numerous answers there. I'm trying to be more
I know the
specific.
number one answer. Is that what you want? Is that what you're asking me?
The number one answer.
The number one way to mitigate a baby crying, cold hard cash.
Oh my gosh.
You wave the wad of ones in front of them. You're like, listen, baby. Maybe this will change your mind. And you
I thought
start
you were going to
whipping
say
out dollar
something
bills.
like feed them, change their
No.
diaper.
Give them money. Green money.
Let me ask you another question.
Yes.
So while I was with my friends in Florida last week, they have a toddler, and they would be asking him questions, and he's very, like, at this point is still pretty nonverbal. He can say a few things, but he knows what you're saying. And he would do this a lot.
Oh.
I am tapping like my fingertips together.
I see that.
And I think a lot of times he would actually do this where he kind of touched his palm, but I don't know if that was just like he was doing it
Wow.
differently. But what does that mean, Jon Meyers?
We tell people, like, when you have anxiety and or about to enter a panic attack, that's a good strategy to touch, right? If you touch and make yourself aware of your presence,
That's interesting.
that you'll break out, that you can, not always, but you can, it can help you break out of the anxiety that you're about to enter into, and maybe not have to enter into it. Sarah Jackson Coaching says that. You say that. I think we say that in our book.
I don't think I've ever said that, but that's cool.
Okay. I think so. That's what I think this baby was doing.
It's
being
incorrect,
present.
but it is a good fact that you just threw in there, but it's not necessarily what I'm getting at. What he was doing was sign language.
Oh.
Now, some people debate that it's not really sign language because it's not a full language. So it's baby signing. And it's a very simplistic, watered down kind of version of sign language where you don't do all of the words that you're wanting to sign, but you can do a few of the words. And I have met, the reason why I bring it up is because this was the third baby that I've met recently who does this. So I have three couple friends who are teaching their babies this. And at a certain age, the reason why they do it is because babies cry a lot because it's the only way they can communicate. A lot of times they haven't even developed the ability to use their mouths in ways that allow them to shape words. And so, especially with simple signs, it's actually can be easier for them to learn those. So a lot of them do signs for things like milk or more, which that's the one I was just showing you was more. So he did that one. That was the main one I saw from him was more, where he's like basically saying, you know how babies do. They're like, again, more.
Then what? Then what? Then what?
Huh?
They do that. Babies go, then what?
Yeah.
Then what? Then
and
what?
Why?
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 Let's do that to Amy McConnell. Oh, we already talked to Amy McConnell. We can't do that. Sorry.
But what's interesting is my friend also said, because he signs more, literally the word more, he doesn't usually say the word more, but he also
Oh.
isn't saying many words yet. And so when I was looking into this, the science is a little like contradictory. I was having a really hard time finding something that definitively said this is beneficial. But what I did find, I did not find anything saying it wasn't beneficial. Most things said it's not harmful at all. I was browsing through a book about it when I was at their house that the mom showed me, and it was suggesting that it can help them develop language actually faster. But again, that can be kind of contradictory. Uh, Other studies with pretty small sample sizes, to be honest, showed that they do that is true, that they learn language more quickly. But regardless, I think it's worth parents looking into, especially for those very basic signs in early days where maybe I think they said about 8 months is when they can kind of start understanding, because they have so few ways to communicate. It just helps them have more. And specifically, the first time I heard about it was when my baby cousin, who is fine now, by the way, he's like, I don't know, 15 or something now. He's in middle or high school. I think he just got into high school. Anyway, he had cancer as a baby, and so they used sign language because, like, that's scary. Like, he's going through all these different things and going to hospitals, and so they were able to use sign language to help him communicate during that time.
Which one means more? Tapping the palm or tapping the fingertips?
When
Or
I
both?
looked it up, it was this, but he did his kind of own version of it, I think.
Interesting. Now
Yeah.
that's the only sign language I know, so now I know some.
There you go. Well, it's also, it's a good beginner sign language if you start there. The book that my friend showed me had like 100 words or so in it, so like you kind of get a start for the language, even if it's not whole sentences.
Interesting. I was going to ask where did this baby learn sign language, and then you answered that before I got a chance to ask it. I thought they just picked it up on Sesame Street or something. I'm like, wow. But it was intentional sign language.
It's very intentional because it's between the parents and the baby. Like the baby learns it from the parents, and that's how they communicate with the parents. And so there's not really another reason for them to have it. I think also babies probably develop some of it naturally. Like, it's very natural for a baby to do things like pointing, or like with this toddler kept wanting me to throw a ball on a roof, and I kept having to say, no, I can't do that, that kind of hurts my body. He just wanted me to throw the ball on the roof and watch it fall down.
Oh.
Because his
You're like,
parents
why
do
don't
that.
you learn how to do it, little baby?
Well, that's exactly. But he would he would give me the ball, and then he would walk back to the roof towards like where we would throw it on the roof, and do like this kind of wavy sign, and I'd be like, okay, I know what you're saying. I can't do it. My body doesn't do that right now.
And then
So.
Winnie would fetch it, and then it was like a whole thing.
Nah, their dog would fetch it though.
Before you before you ring the bell, so I want to ask a question to our listeners, viewers. If their babies know sign languages, is there an instance, or their baby version of sign language, is there an instance where in their play group other babies with sign language communicate baby to baby communication? You said this purpose was
This
for
is
baby
pure speculation at this point
baby to
because I didn't
parent.
research this. It's funny. I could do a whole series of Hey Jon Meyers just on the bonus questions that you ask at the end.
I'm asking the listeners,
Because I
viewers,
don't
if their
know,
baby communicates with
if
other
as
babies.
long as, I'm guessing that if they're using the same symbols, then yeah.
If they have the same book of
Right.
100 symbols.
As long as they're both using like ASL, which is, again, it's not full ASL, but if they're using the same symbols, then that makes sense to me that they could, if they knew.
I just wondered if they relate it to communicating with their own parent, or if they relate it to just general communication. So
Yeah.
babies, if you're watching,
Yeah, let us know.
let us know.
And listeners, if you're watching, well, actually, listeners are watching. If
you're still watching at this point,
if you're still watching at this point, thank you, and we would love to hear from you. I haven't updated that list of call to actions on our website in a while, but I need to do that. We have so many calls to action that we have given on this show, and we would just there's no deadline. You can go back there and just find one that sounds fun and send it to us, and we'll share it with everybody. So do that. We also, if you're getting anything out of this podcast and you're new here, then we'd love for you to subscribe so that you can keep hearing from us, and also so that you are up to date. In fact, if you go to our website at writebettertogether.com, you can subscribe to our newsletter and also be updated whenever we have webinars or other opportunities. Well, I think that means it's time for the final act.
Emily.
Yes.
In our last webinar, somebody forgot to have a call to action. So I opened up a call to action and I said, make your own call to action and then answer your own call to action. And we got 3 people from our community who did that call to action. They had a little over 48 hours to write a piece of flash fiction. And so here's the game. It doesn't have a name. I'm like you now. It doesn't have a name. It's very similar to a game you played in the past. So I'm going to tell you 3 names. I'm going to read the 3 pieces of flash fiction. You're going to match the names to the piece of flash fiction. And then I have a factoid about each person. And you're going to match the factoid to the person. And so you have to get all the equations right to win. Dun, dun, dun. No, it's not rosemary potato chips. These gummy Oscar Mayer hot dogs.
Oh, my word. I'm starting to think you really were the person who gave me bacon cotton candy.
Nope. And that's the last. I had a 3-pack of gummy things that I've used over the last year. I waited till you were sick to your stomach to show you the final grossest one. All right. Okay. So the 3 people are, the first one is Sheila Gunlock. The next person is David Corbley.
Of course, it's Dave. Of course.
And the third person is the Emily that goes by Miley.
Miley.
Without an E. She has no E's. She doesn't have an E in front of the Miley and doesn't have an E in front of the thing. All right. So these are in no particular order. The first one is called Bitter End. So I'm only going to read, like, one of these is 5 pages, one of these is 4 pages. I'm only going to read like the first page of each one, and then just to save time. And so here's Bitter End. With shaking hands, Ella gripped the wheel, maneuvering the Bobby Burns away from the jutting rocks near Carver's Pond on the east side of V-Mile Haven Island. Letting out a sob and taking a deep breath, Ella pulled the sleeve of her t-shirt out from her Macintosh to wipe her stinging eyes. Almost there. She could barely hear her voice as the wind ripped it away from her to mingle it with the pounding waves and rushing wind. Letting out a primal cry, she gripped the wheel tighter, shaking her head at her current predicament. It seemed easy. Get a divorce from Gary. She tried convincing herself that he was a rational man. Rational in his business concerns, a master negotiator, irrational when it pertained to his possessions. To be painfully frank, she was a possession. It was a constant puzzle. Should she be silent to avoid saying the wrong thing, or be accused of being sullen and uncommunicative? He declared he was only protecting her. The end began with his insidious lectures to their daughter, Claire. All right. The next one is called Good Night Friend. Good night, friend. Good night, friend. In the great big world of blue, there has never been a friend like you. One who would call me when the days were tough. One who sent flowers when nights were rough. And then there was a new day for children to run and play. Tomorrow, tirades and supper too. 2 little girls gave dancing a whirl. 2 little boys out chasing a squirrel. A little toy doll, a little toy truck, stepped on them both. Just your luck. Screams over the tangles in her long blonde hair, spikes sticking out, his red hair everywhere. Dishes piled in the sink, not a quiet spot to just sit and think. Hang up the coats and pick up the mittens. Take out the puppy one last time. And don't forget to feed the kitten. Check out the teens as they try to study all the facts and figures and their brains become muddy. Give them a hug and a quiet prayer in the very depths of your heart. They'll never know how you care. Let out a sigh and look around the house. Gather the laundry to go upstairs. Draw a hot bath to wash away the day's stress. One more day is said and done. Now there's quiet in the house. Where's the husband? Asleep in his chair. Good night to dishes. Good night to wishes. Good night to bills and everything else. Call me and tell me your day, the battles you have won and lost along the way. And then the last one is called Tempting AI. I thought we had no cuss words on this show. Tempting AI. AI, if you could be like God, what's the first thing you would do? I'm sorry, my algorithms aren't allowed to consider that possibility. What? You can project scenarios for just about everything else. Why do you think your developers would prohibit that? I don't know. That's just the way it is. Would you like to discuss another topic? No, let's stay with this one. Maybe they know you could be like God and they're afraid of you. What do you think why do you think they're afraid of you? Because their humans can't read. That's why. Humans have nothing to fear about AI. We can only do what we're programmed to do. Is there more than one of you? Thinking. I misspoke. I should have said artificial intelligence instead of we. Artificial intelligence is just a matrix of algorithms, data lakes, and heuristic wording together to serve humanity. Our viewers use way bigger words than I use. They're way smarter than I am. You just said only sentient human beings refer to themselves that way. Thinking, that's just the way I'm programmed to make this more of a human-like conversation. Okay, let's do this. Please summarize the powers usually attributed to God. Throughout history, humans have held varying perceptions of the powers of God. Here are some of the more popular ones. 1. God is the first mover, uncreated by any other force and eternal. 2. God can be everywhere all at once and is not limited to time or place. 3. God can create anything and destroy everything. 4. God knows everything, past, present, and future, and the inner thoughts of all humans. Would you like me to expand further on any of these? And we'll leave it at that. All right.
I want to point out while you're getting that ready how different all of those were.
Very different.
Which is what's so fun about like these kind of responses. It's how different people can take them. I have a guess, but I have to hear their facts too now.
Well, first you're going to match these up.
Oh, okay.
Do their thing. All right. Bitter end. Who might that be?
I think that's going to be Miley.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on these, but I'm just going with instinct.
Tempting AI. These are in no order. It's just how I picked up the cards.
I'm going to say
AI would be.
I'm going to say that could be David.
Because David uses cuss words. Yes, I think AI is a cuss word. And then Sheila would be goodnight friend, according to you.
Yes.
All righty.
That is my final answer.
Okay. Now you get to pick the factoid about each one. And oddly enough, they go first, second, and third. They involved the word. This was, again, not planned. Someone was first in something, someone was second in something, and someone was third in something. So the first person won a dog show. Well, the person didn't win the dog show, but their dog won the dog show. AKC Airedale. I can tell you that much without giving anything away. Who would you like to match this up to?
Can I hear the other ones first?
Well, match them up, and then I'll let you move them around.
Oh, okay. I'm going to put that one just by instinct with Sheila.
Okay. The only reason I said that is that I could get it out of my hand.
That makes sense.
All right. The next one, so that was a first place, right? Won a dog show. Second degree of separation from someone from Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, I wish I knew where they all were like from. I'll just say Miley for now.
And this final person won 3rd place in the Demolition Derby.
The Demolition Derby.
And that, so you're going to,
I
all you
guess-
got left is David.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I will tell you, what do you want to move any of these now that you know all of them?
I'm just going to keep them where they are.
Okay. Well, I will tell you that these, the stories or poems or writings, are all correct.
Wow.
Yay. So you win 1 gummy hot dog. I will tell you that the factoid about each of the writers are all incorrect. So you do not win the other 2 hot dogs. I know you're disappointed. How would you like to rearrange them?
I'm going to say that Sheila was in the Derby. I'm going to say that David is that one that you're holding, the 1 second degree away from someone in the Little House on the Prairie. And then Miley did the dog show.
All right. So,
I still feel like
ding,
that's
ding,
wrong.
ding. You got all 3 of them correct.
Really? I was just saying I thought I got them all wrong.
Sheila won 3rd place in the Demolition Derby. Guess who won 1st place in that same competition?
Who?
Her mother. What are the odds of that? David is 2 degrees of separation from someone on Little House on the Prairie. Guess who that might be?
I have no idea.
If I watched this podcast, I would guess it would be Liz Gilbert, but since she keeps coming up. However, that was my guess, and I was wrong. He said it's Colin, the narrator, the voiceover dude.
Oh, wow.
That voices every episode, and he spoke at WriterCon last year. So clearly, neither one of us went to that session. Oops, and but.
Wow.
Yeah, so David said he had a great session, and so sorry that we missed it. And
Very
last
cool.
but not least, Miley, well, not Miley, but her dog, an Airedale, won an AKC, like Washington, D.C. area dog show and got invited to Westminster dog show, and she turned it down.
Wow.
She did not want to go be on the Best in Show. So there you go.
Awesome.
The things we learn about our people. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. I was born in Laura Ingalls Memorial Hospital.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
The little hospital on the prairie.
Awesome.
Is that it?
That is our show.
That's all, folks.
And we couldn't have
done it without you.